Organic Breeze with Shafat Ahmed Khan. Saturday 7 till 9 a.m. only on CII Radio.
I tell you, I really like that nasheed, and it really has a strong voice, and it takes me, into Iqra. Hey, read. Both Rafeek, Hassen, and I are voracious readers, and he's someone that has inspired me throughout my life. I look at him as my elder brother, and by the grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that muhabba, that love has stayed very strong indeed, people, because we love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala implicitly, both him and I. And as I said, when I have him on air, it's like having my right hand with me. And alhamdulillah, as I told you, Erdogan, of Turkey has done something miraculous. He's brokered a deal with Ukraine. He's brokered a deal with Ukraine and Russia. He brokered a deal with the NATO and Russia and so forth. So it's all happening. But Rafeek Hassen, besides being a world-class da'i, a pharmacist, and someone knows his politics inside out, he's the ideal person to discuss this issue with. There's he right in front of me, looking, mashallah, tall, 6'8", 6'9". Hey, Rafeek is really tall, and he's looking mashallah indeed. Rafeek Hassen, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And tell me, how are you doing this fine, beautiful morning?
Barakatuh, Brother Shafat. Alhamdulillah, your du'as and everyone's du'as, alhamdulillah, we are well.
Now, Rafeek, I didn't expect this. I was just telling the listeners earlier on, we had Erdogan. We all were looking forward to his leadership, and suddenly we saw him entertaining the Israeli president, giving him the red carpet treatment, being part of the NATO, having the second largest forces in NATO as backup and so forth. And suddenly we were losing hope in him. What do you make of this new deal that he's brokered? And perhaps, Rafeek, we have averted the so-called, the orchestrated, the fuel hikes, perhaps food shortages, and many other things. What's your thoughts, sir, Rafeek?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Well, you see, Brother Shafat, the world we live in is not a unipolar world. And, America always had that in the brain, that they thought that the world is a unipolar world. Everything centers around America. And the Chinese kept wanting to tell them that we are living in a multipolar world. In other words, we can't, they say no man is an island. There's a saying in English, which means no country can say, I can do it alone. The world is too interrelated, with the technology, with the fast speed of internet communications, flights, the world is reduced to literally, to the size of a ball, and we are all interrelated, and therefore we have to work with one another. Now, I think one of the things that Erdogan has learned is that we have to work with everyone that's in the world. The main stakeholders, if I might use another word, we got to work with the main power forces in the world. You cannot. No one country can do it alone. It's gone are the days America was a superpower and did what she feels like doing. They have now, the tail has been cut, and they know that. So let's come to this Erdogan deal now. Besides, this story of what I just said about, look, we need to work, the world has to work. Look, the United Nations is almost a defunct body. It is no way, the United Nations, the way it is structured. The idea is good. It was formed first, the League of Nations, and then after World War I, and then the United Nations. So as they could talk, there could be this kind of negotiations that just happened now. With Turkey, NATO, the UN. That's what was the United Nations role was supposed to be. But one of the failings and what other word can I use? The conspiracy and one of the farce, one of the real problems with the United Nations, the way it was structured, is the veto right. That certain people only could be in the Security Council, the main decision body, the one that has the clout, the teeth that can bite, But any one of those has a veto right. Now, just like how in NATO now, that's the United Nations. NATO is, just those countries along the North Atlantic, where Turkey is involved with this NATO, because strategically. So the problem was that they had a veto right. And when any one country vetoes, in other words, they say, I don't agree, it can't happen. So you say there are 10 members in the Security Council. If 9 of them say we must go and attack Israel, and one say no, it can't happen. See, this veto right. And America kept using its veto right against Israel action against, and the whole story. Now, so Erdogan knows he's got power both in the United Nations and in NATO, because the second point to keep about why Turkey is so important is strategically, Brother Shafat. If you look at the map of the world, the Black Sea is between Ukraine and Turkey. But Ukraine, although Ukraine is part of, say, the stepping, at one side it's Russia on the east, and on the west it's Europe. But Ukraine is landlocked, Brother Shafat. Now here comes the deal. Ukraine is landlocked. And so is Russia, in the sense that, if it wants to get into Europe, it has to go via Ukraine. Russia has to go into Europe via Ukraine, via Poland and these countries. And that's where the whole problem is coming out. Besides the war, that the problem Russia had with Ukraine and the West, Ukraine is very strategic in terms of the land route. In terms of the land route, Ukraine is strategic for Russia and China, because it is through Ukraine and Belarus that Russia, China, the East can get into the West. But in terms of the sea route now, Ukraine can only get its stuff, and even Russia via the Black Sea, and they can come down to West if they want to come south. If they want to come into Africa, into the Middle East, the Black Sea is the route. The Black Sea and the Caspian Sea is the route. And and Turkey is guarding the Black Sea, Brother Shafat. Now here comes the TKO. Where Turkey, comes important is Istanbul. As you know, the Bosphorus, Istanbul is the gateway, right at the tip of where the Black Sea enters the Mediterranean Sea. That gap, that narrow gap, it's Turkey. It's Istanbul, which was called Constantinople. That is holding the key, whether anything can go from east to west or to the Middle East. And Turkey, therefore, is very viable. Turkey can stop it at a touch of a button. It's like the Suez Canal, Brother Shafat. The Suez Canal is another strategic channel of small waterway, but it has very strategic to block the sea routes and cripple the global economy and the global shipping. So likewise with Turkey. And I congratulate Erdogan in the sense that he realizes that, and this is an Islamic principle. And I think Erdogan himself, being a Hafiz al-Quran, I'm not fully behind him in everything. I'm not saying he's doing everything right, but it's a tough world out there. It's nice for me and you, Chef, to sit and criticize him and judge him. He went with Israel. Now we can say, why are you dealing with Israel? But Israel is a major player in the world, whether we like it or not. I'm asking the listeners: did not Nabi Sallallahu at one stage make a deal with the Jews? I mean, he made alliances with the Jews. And there was a time in Medina, in the Aus, the Khajra, the Banu Nadir. Let's call them the Zionists of those days, just for the want of a better word. That was Israel, of the day. But Nabi Sallallahu made deals with them because they were a significant power base to deal with in Medina at that time. So likewise, Israel, Russia, Ukraine, all these countries and NATO are power bases in the world, and Erdogan understands this. And I think he must use this leverage now, I think, to show that. And I want to end with this point, Brother Shawad. I think even in South Africa, if you allow me, I want to just bring it to, I'm bringing this Erdogan's role in the global, geopolitics with South African Muslims. He's a Muslim. Turkey is a Muslim country. Erdogan is a good practicing Muslim. And I'm relating that to Muslims in this country. And Erdogan, Turkey is a minority in the global world. I mean, as one country only, as a Muslim country, don't talk about that and the OIC and all. They're all, under the radar. They're just in name. No influence in the world. Now, we in South Africa also, Muslims are emerging with the death we had of and the role that Yasmin, Jesse Duarte played, Omar Din Don Matera, the tributes that poured in from those who are not Muslim. It shows you that they recognize the role of Muslims, not just a role, a very powerful, a very strategic, a very balanced, and a very, guiding role, and a very neutral role, and a unifying role. One of the things they said about Jesse Duarte, Yasmin, is that she was a unifier within the ANC's fighting. Now, Erdogan can play that unifying role between East, West, North, and South, Brother Shafat. And I think, we hope that he does well, because at the end, he will show the place and the beauty of Islam, and they will start to respect Muslim and Muslim countries. And in this way, Muslims can slowly gain the confidence of the world again.
Rafeek, your hikmah comes in so powerfully, and you make us see the light at the end of the tunnel. You got away with it. But, I was just thinking, whilst you're talking about Erdogan, and he, the leader of Turkey, I thought of the peace treaty of Hudaybiyah, where Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was, busy, giving away, and the Sahabas were looking at him and said, "What are you doing? You're giving these guys more beat over. You're actually giving away, our rights to these people." And Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that was perhaps the greatest treaty ever signed, because that is when Islam reached its maximum, went right to the highest level of getting people coming to the house of Islam. Your thoughts on that?
Well, I must say you're sharp, Brother Shafat. I was talking now, obviously the Treaty of Hudaybiyah was very much later on, it was one of the, it was the penultimate, year before the Fateh Makkah. In other words, it was at almost the end of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam's mission. But a very, very, rightfully putting it, as a very, very significant strategic, diplomatic victory. Outwardly, it was a sellout. Outwardly, it was a compromise. Even the Sahaba, stalwarts, Hazrat Umar and many of the stalwarts, thinking that Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is compromising the deen and all that. You said it, but they couldn't see the down the road that this is diplomacy at its best. This is strategy at its best. You make a short-term compromise for a long-term gain. And the very next year, the dawah spread. This allowed, because all he wanted is that there must be peace and don't attack the Muslims. Allow us to come do the dawah, and they agreed on that. And that was opened on the ground. And I think Erdogan, in a way, when he's doing this, they're starting to gain the confidence of the Muslims, and this is going to spread. I mean, just the other day in Kwamashu, and generally, I don't know, Brother Shafat, if you picking it up, because of the sterling work of feeding and social hampers during the COVID and all the difficult times, Muslims were seen in the forefront. No water, Muslims offering water, to the neighbors, Muslim or non-Muslim. Muslims are being seen, gift of the givers. They are being seen, all the other welfare and relief bodies as serving mankind. So yes, the Treaty of Hudaybiyah definitely teaches us the Prophet ﷺ as a master par excellence in diplomacy and strategy. And I think we need to take lessons from this.
Yeah, absolutely, Rafeek. And, having you is a breath of fresh air, as I said. Your parting words this morning?
Well, this what it calls for, Brother Shafat, with the Hajj is over, but we lost the opportunity. Hajj is supposed to be also an assembly, not just for the spiritual side. When everyone was in Mina for the last 2 days, where are you going to get the whole Muslim world coming together at one spot They could have been networking and conferencing in Mina for those 2 days and set the agenda for the Muslim world and for the world. But I hope Muslims will now start to do that and realize that Hajj is not just only a spiritual journey. Islam is not only a spiritual religion, but Islam is very much a political, economic religion that is involved in the upliftment of mankind. And I think we need to start looking like that. And inshallah, I see on the horizon in this country and internationally that Muslims emerging as a very significant player, on the global stage.
Absolutely, Rafeek, and you are a very significant member for the Ummah and asset to the Ummah. You have a mashallah and a blessed day ahead. I'll talk to you soon. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
The Organic Breeze with Shafat Ahmed Khan. Saturday 7 till 9 a.m. only on CII Radio.